Everyone noticed her before anyone welcomed her. A black woman in a deep navy gown stood just beyond the glass doors of the Whitman, Bradshaw Country Club, holding a simple clutch and a cream shawl. No entourage, no designer logos, just diamond studs and posture that said she needed no permission to breathe their air. To people who measured worth in last names and centerpieces, her quiet looked like absence. The wedding planner clocked her in an instant. "Vendors use the service corridor, ma'am. Around the back." "I'm not a vendor," the woman said, voice soft, steady. "I'm here for the wedding." "Name?" The planner's smile sharpened into policy. "Naomi Cole. No ring on the roster. No comforting lineage." The planner's tone cooled. "Do you have an invitation?" Naomi opened her clutch and offered a heavy cream envelope. The planner barely touched it, until gold-edged cardstock and the groom's initial, M, forced a double take. "Right. A clerical mix-up," the planner murmured. "We're fully seated up front. You can wait by the side entrance." "I'll wait here," Naomi replied, stepping to a pillar, refusing the shadowed ledge near the parking lot reserved for problems. Guests in glitter drifted by. A woman whispered to her husband, "They really should route staff elsewhere." Naomi heard. She didn't flinch. Inside, the quartet swelled. The planner reappeared, relief arranged on her face. "Back row, far aisle. And please don't block photos." Naomi entered the ballroom of chandeliers and perfect rows. The back row offered everything she needed, sightlines and truth. She saw the glances, the quick judgments. She watched Evelyn Whitman and Lydia Bradshaw, crystal and red lipstick, trade a look that said not ours. The procession began. Bridesmaids shimmered. Groomsmen grinned. Vows spoke of respect and humility while a woman in a gold dress stuck out her foot for a better view, clipping a server's tray. Water spilled down his sleeve. "Can you not?" Gold dress hissed. "Some of us are trying to watch." The young server shrank. Naomi rose, handed him a napkin from a side table. "It's just water," she murmured. "It'll dry." Gold dress swiveled. "You're not supposed to stand during the ceremony." Naomi sat without a word. Her restraint said more than a speech. At the front, the groom, Michael, slid a ring onto his bride's hand. Applause bloomed like confetti. As the couple recessed, his gaze swept the room on instinct, smiling, until it snagged on the woman in navy in the shadowed corner. He faltered. Barely. Enough for anyone watching closely to see a past step into the present. Naomi tilted her chin. "Yes. It's me. Keep walking." He did, smile taut, shoulders tight. He hadn't told his parents she'd come. He certainly hadn't told them who she was. Cocktail hour flooded the lawn with fairy lights and curated laughter. The clusters formed along invisible borders. Old money near the bar, young money near the photo booth, everyone else orbiting status. Naomi chose a small table under an oak, half hidden, wholly strategic. A server approached, breathless. "Can I get you?" "Sparkling water." "Lemon, if it's easy," she said, easing his nerves with a smile and his name once he offered it, Isaiah. People heard the titles that fit their world. She let them. By the bar, a credit card argument flared, Frederick Whitman's voice like a blade. "Run it again." Red flashed on the reader before a thumb smothered it. Limit exceeded. Panic dressed itself as outrage. Naomi looked away. Not her moment. Not yet. Her phone buzzed. "You came. M. You invited me." N. Another buzz. "They're asking for backup payment." Dad's card froze. "I didn't tell them about anything." "Were you?" M. "They will know by the end of the night. The only question is how." N. Across the lawn, the planner rearranged place cards, still steering Naomi toward the edges like clutter to be staged out of frame. The jazz turned smoky. Staff moved with choreographed urgency. Guests rehearsed their best selves. They didn't notice the center of gravity had already shifted. Because rooms think they decide who matters, until the microphone finds the one person the room tried to hide. And when the groom finally says her name out loud, the night will split cleanly in two, before Naomi and after. Naomi sat in the back row like a shadow no one wanted to claim. From there, she could see the entire theater of pretense unfolding, pearls glinting, whispers trading names like currency, and eyes that only saw what matched their reflection. The ceremony had ended, but judgment hadn't. It lingered like perfume, sweet, heavy, and impossible to ignore. Guests poured out toward the cocktail lawn. Naomi waited until the flow thinned, then rose, moving at her own pace. A young usher intercepted her halfway. "Reception's through the veranda," he said, tone rehearsed. "Family and close friends are seated near the stage. Overflow tables are at the back, by the garden." Overflow. There it was again, the polite synonym for out of sight. She smiled faintly. "Thank you," she said, and walked past him. Outside, the twilight shimmered with fairy lights and gold-trimmed champagne glasses. The hum of small talk mixed with a jazz trio's soft rhythm. Naomi slipped into the scene as unnoticed as a whisper, her navy dress blending with the dusk. But invisibility was never absence, it was observation. Clusters of guests formed their social hierarchies instantly. The fathers stood near the bar, boasting of markets and mergers. The mothers hovered around the cake display, comparing designers. The young ones took endless photos against the rose arch, each one pretending to capture joy instead of validation. Naomi chose a quiet corner beneath an oak tree, a perfect vantage point. She watched people the way some read books, looking for character before dialogue. A server approached hesitantly. "Would you like something to drink?" he asked, voice timid. "Sparkling water, please," she said kindly. "With lemon if you have it." He nodded quickly. "Yes, ma'am." Then he hesitated. "Just so you know, this section's usually for staff breaks, so they might ask you to." Naomi smiled. "I'll be fine. Thank you, Isaiah." His eyes widened. "How did you?" "You're wearing a name tag," she said, amusement softening her tone. He grinned despite himself before hurrying off. Near the center lawn, Evelyn Whitman, the groom's mother, clinked her glass for attention. "I'd like to propose a toast to family," she declared, her voice a perfect mix of champagne and control. "And to new beginnings." Applause rippled politely. Naomi raised her glass of water, unseen, unheard. Some beginnings required endings first. At the bar, tension spiked. Frederick Whitman's card declined, loudly. "Run it again," he barked. The bartender's hands shook as the machine flashed red. Insufficient funds. Guests pretended not to watch, though curiosity hummed like static. Miles Bradshaw chuckled to smooth it over. "Technology, huh? Happens to all of us." But the stiffness in Frederick's jaw said it hadn't happened to him before. Naomi's phone buzzed. "They froze Dad's card. I'm trying not to panic." "You were right." Her fingers moved slowly. "Don't panic. Truth always shows up, one way or another." She placed the phone face down. Across the lawn, Michael laughed too loudly at something a groomsman said, his body rigid beneath the tuxedo's sheen. The new bride, radiant and oblivious, waved at guests while her parents whispered to the planner, their smiles stretched thin. Naomi took another sip of water, watching it all like a chess player anticipating moves before they happened. She hadn't come for spectacle, but it always found her. Isaiah returned, setting a fresh slice of lemon in her glass. "Long night," he murmured. "People act different when they think no one's watching." Naomi's eyes flicked toward him. "And when they find out someone was watching?" He gave a small, knowing smile. "That's when they start changing." She smiled back. "Maybe." Across the lawn, the photographer gathered the families for formal portraits. Naomi stayed seated, content in her distance. The flashbulbs popped like tiny fireworks as mothers adjusted pearls and fathers straightened cuffs. Every click preserved the illusion of perfection, one more lie caught in light. Then, from the stage, the bandleader's voice rang out. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the newlyweds." The crowd cheered. Michael and his bride appeared, glowing under chandeliers strung between trees. Naomi clapped, soft but steady. Her eyes met his for a fleeting second. In that moment, he stopped pretending. The mask slipped. Remorse, recognition, gratitude, all flickered across his face before he looked away. He hadn't told them. Not about the money. Not about the woman who'd believed in him when no one else did. Not about the mentor whose investment had saved not only his company, but his family's fortune. Naomi's phone buzzed again. "I don't know how to explain everything without breaking them." She typed slowly. "Then let truth do it for you. Because in rooms built on lies, the truth doesn't knock. It kicks the door open." The jazz swelled. Glasses clinked. Laughter grew louder to cover fear. Naomi looked at the sky, violet fading to night. The time was coming. Soon, the groom would take the microphone. Soon, he'd say her name. And when he did, the back row would finally move to the center of the story. The reception hall shimmered like a jewel box, gold light bouncing off crystal glasses, soft music swelling under laughter that sounded just a little too practiced. Naomi had been seated, predictably, at the edge of it all, a small round table near the service doors, half hidden behind a column of white lilies. The overflow zone. Her table mates were a mix of afterthoughts, an older cousin who'd arrived late, a friend of the DJ, and one server on break who still wore her apron. Naomi didn't mind. Corners were her specialty. You could see everything from there. At the head table, the bride glowed under the soft wash of spotlights. Her husband, Michael, kept smiling, but his smile no longer reached his eyes. Every few minutes, he glanced toward the back, toward Naomi. He was the only one who knew the full weight of her presence. Servers weaved between tables. Guests laughed too loudly. Glasses refilled, secrets circulated. Naomi watched it all like someone who had seen this play too many times before. Then came the tapping of silver on glass. "Speech time," someone shouted. The crowd hushed, leaning in. The best man's toast came first. Safe jokes, college stories, promises of loyalty. Then the maid of honor, teary and trembling, gushed about friendship and fairy tales. Laughter, applause, cue the band to swell. Perfectly choreographed. Finally, the MC smiled and gestured toward the groom. "And now, let's hear from the man of the hour, Michael Whitman." Cheers erupted. Michael rose, straightened his jacket, took the microphone, and for one small second, Naomi saw his mask crack. He wasn't ready. But truth never waits for readiness. "Wow," he began, his voice echoing softly. "What a night. First, thank you to everyone who came. My family, my wife's family, all the people who helped make this day possible." He looked down, then up again. "You've all made me the luckiest man alive." Applause. Cheers. Easy part over. He hesitated. "But before we dance, before we forget what this night really means, there's something I need to say. About how I got here." Evelyn Whitman froze mid-sip. Lydia Bradshaw's painted smile stiffened. The planner tensed near the doors. Michael continued, his tone lower now. "A few years ago, I was broke. Not tight budget broke. The kind of broke where you can't answer your phone because it's just debt collectors. Where you wake up every morning wondering how many people you've disappointed." His voice trembled, but he didn't stop. "I made mistakes. Bad ones. And I was about to lose everything." The crowd exchanged confused glances. This wasn't the fairy tale speech they expected. "I had no business, no hope, no way out," he went on. "Then someone gave me a chance. Someone who looked at me and didn't see a failure, didn't see a name to avoid. She saw possibility." Murmurs rippled through the tables. "She." Michael's eyes swept the crowd, then landed on the back corner. "She believed in me when no one else would. She didn't just give me advice, she invested in me. Her time, her trust, her money. Without her, I wouldn't have a company. I wouldn't be standing here, and this wedding," he took a breath. "This wedding wouldn't exist." A stunned silence fell over the hall. Evelyn leaned toward her husband, whispering sharply, "What is he talking about?" Frederick frowned. "Some business mentor, I assume." Lydia Bradshaw forced a polite smile, but her eyes darted nervously toward her daughter. Michael turned, lifting his chin slightly. "You've all seen her tonight. Some of you spoke to her. Some of you," he paused, and the pause burned, "may have judged her." He pointed toward the far end of the hall, directly at Naomi. "She's sitting right there," he said softly. "Naomi Cole. The reason I'm here. The woman who believed in me when everyone else saw a lost cause." Every head turned. Conversation stopped. Forks froze midair. The planner gasped. Gold dress nearly dropped her drink. Guests whispered, piecing together every earlier slight. The planner's tone, the back row seat, the ignored greeting. Naomi stood slowly, the candlelight painting her in gold. Her face was calm, composed. She didn't wave, didn't bow. She simply met their stares, unflinching. Michael's voice wavered. "I invited her tonight to thank her, to show my family the woman who saved our name when we couldn't save it ourselves. Naomi, I owe you everything." For a heartbeat, silence ruled. Then, softly at first, came the applause from the staff. Isaiah, the young server, clapped first, eyes shining. His sister joined. The bandleader followed. One by one, others joined. The bartenders, the crew, the ones who had seen Naomi's quiet kindness all night. Then the guests began clapping too, hesitant, uneven, guilt flickering behind their smiles. Naomi nodded once in acknowledgement. She didn't smile for approval. She smiled because she already had the one thing no applause could give her: peace. Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice but still amplified. You told me once that real wealth isn't measured by what's in your account, but by how you treat people who can't give you anything back. I didn't understand it then. I do now. She met his eyes, pride and forgiveness mingling in one steady gaze. Around them, the elite crowd who had spent hours pretending to be flawless now squirmed in their seats, realizing their own reflection had just been held up to the light. And that was only the beginning. Because now that her name had been spoken, Naomi wasn't invisible anymore. She was inevitable. The room held its breath. Naomi stood, the low amber lights catching the soft gleam of her dress. Every eye turned, every whisper froze. She didn't have to speak. The silence itself became her stage. At the head table, Michael's voice trembled but carried conviction. Everyone, meet the woman who believed in me when no one else did. Naomi Cole. The applause began as a hesitant ripple, mostly from the staff. Then it grew, echoing across the chandeliered hall until even the guests joined in, unsure whether they were celebrating her or atoning for how they treated her. Naomi smiled, calm, gracious. Thank you, she said softly. The microphone was still in Michael's hand, but the power had already shifted to her. He cleared his throat. Naomi, would you say something? Please. She took the mic slowly, her eyes sweeping the room. The same people who had looked through her earlier now looked up at her. I wasn't planning to speak, she began, her voice low but firm. I came here tonight to celebrate love, to support someone who once stood at a crossroads and chose growth instead of shame. Her gaze softened toward Michael. And to remind myself why I believe in second chances. A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd. Even those who'd whispered about her color or her clothes leaned forward now, hungry for her words. But while I was here, she continued, I noticed something. It wasn't just the beauty of this room or the love between two people. It was how easily we decide who belongs where. The planner froze. Gold Dress looked away. Naomi's tone didn't rise, yet the air thickened. I was asked to stand aside when I arrived. Told to wait near the service entrance. Seated in the back. Ignored, labeled, misjudged. None of you knew my name, but many of you thought you already knew my story. She paused. It's a strange thing, to be invisible until you're useful. Gasps fluttered through the hall. A few people lowered their eyes, the weight of her words bending their posture. Michael's mother, Evelyn, shifted in her chair, guilt written across her face. Frederick crossed his arms, defensive but silent. Naomi continued, I don't blame anyone. Not entirely. We are all guilty of assumptions, of mistaking surface for substance. But tonight, you have an opportunity to remember what respect looks like before you know someone's title. Her words were gentle, but every syllable landed like a verdict. From the far end of the hall, Isaiah stood beside the bar, still in his uniform. He clapped again, louder this time. Tell them, he whispered. The sound spread, servers, bartenders, dishwashers, all applauding, not as staff, but as witnesses. The sound of truth being recognized. Naomi set the microphone back in its stand. Michael, she said quietly, you made me proud tonight. You told the truth, even when it cost comfort. That's the foundation of everything worth building. He nodded, emotion tightening his jaw. You taught me that. She smiled faintly. Then I've done my job. As she turned to sit, Evelyn Whitman rose abruptly. Miss Cole, she said, voice trembling. Please wait. Naomi paused. Evelyn stepped forward, tears shining under the chandeliers. You're right. We saw you and thought we knew. I can't speak for everyone here, but I can speak for myself. I am sorry. For not seeing the person who saved my family before my son had to announce it. Frederick stood too, stiff but humbled. Our name, our company, our home. We thought we built it alone. But we didn't. You were there, quietly holding the structure up. Thank you. Naomi inclined her head. I didn't do it for gratitude, she said. I did it because someone once believed in me too. I'm just passing it forward. The crowd watched as Evelyn reached out, taking Naomi's hand. For the first time that night, no one looked at her like an outsider. At the next table, Gold Dress whispered, I misjudged her. Her friend answered softly, we all did. The band began to play again, softer now, reverent. Conversations turned inward. Guests who once competed for status began asking staff their names. The planner slipped away quietly, wiping her eyes. Michael leaned close to Naomi. "You didn't have to forgive them," he said. She looked at him, calm and steady. "Forgiveness isn't for them," she replied. "It's for me. Power without grace isn't power, it's revenge." Outside, fairy lights shimmered against the dark lawn. Inside, the temperature of the room had changed. Wealth felt smaller, humanity larger. And as Naomi finally sat again, Isaiah passed by with a tray and whispered, "You changed the whole room." Naomi smiled. "No," she said. "They just finally looked up. Because justice doesn't always roar. It often walks in quietly, wearing grace as armor." The applause faded, but the truth stayed, hanging heavy like the scent of rain before a storm. People began to move again, slower this time, humbled. Glasses were lifted not for show, but to fill the silence. Eyes that once darted past Naomi now sought her, unsure how to bridge the space between shame and decency. Naomi remained seated, calm, grounded. The same chair that had been chosen to make her invisible now felt like a throne built from restraint. The first to approach her was the bride, Elena, still glowing beneath her veil. She stopped beside Naomi, trembling slightly. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Everything Michael said, everything you said. It's changed how I see this night." Naomi looked up and smiled. Then the night did its job. Elena's voice cracked. "When I saw you earlier, I thought," she stopped, breath catching. "I thought you were someone helping with the staff. And I didn't question why I thought that. I'm so sorry." Naomi's expression softened. "We all inherit stories about who belongs where," she said. "But what matters is whether we keep telling them once we know they're wrong." Tears welled in Elena's eyes. "I'll remember that." Naomi nodded. "Then you've already started something better." The young bride did something no one expected. She removed a delicate bracelet from her wrist, an heirloom of fine gold and tiny pearls. "My grandmother wore this," she said, placing it gently into Naomi's palm. "She always said it belonged to the woman who showed the most grace in the room." "That's you." Naomi hesitated, then accepted it with a quiet smile. "Thank you," she said. "But keep the lesson, not the jewelry." As Elena returned to her seat, a ripple of movement stirred around the tables. One by one, the guests came forward, first hesitantly, then in a steady stream, each carrying their version of remorse. The woman in the gold dress was next. Her voice was small, stripped of arrogance. "I owe you an apology. I judged you. I said things I shouldn't have." Naomi studied her face. "When people show you who they are under comfort," she said, "believe it. The test is how they act when comfort's gone." Gold dress swallowed hard. "I'll do better." "Then start tonight," Naomi said softly. "Treat Isaiah and the others like the people who kept this night from falling apart." The woman nodded, ashamed but changed. Even the wedding planner approached, clipboard tucked tight to her chest. "Miss Cole," she stammered. "I'm sorry for how I spoke to you earlier. I didn't mean to." "Yes, you did," Naomi said gently. "You just didn't mean to be caught. But maybe now, you'll treat every guest, no matter their skin or seat, as if they might have a story worth hearing." The planner blinked tears away. "I will." "Good," Naomi said. "Because every person you greet carries more than you see. Remember that." Behind them, music resumed, slower, sweeter. The first notes of the couple's dance filled the air. But this time, the beauty felt earned. Naomi stood, glancing around the hall. The tension had melted into something new, humility. Conversations softened. The staff smiled more freely. Even the Whitman's table was quiet. Evelyn's eyes wet. Frederick staring at his glass as if it held the reflection of everything he'd misjudged. He rose finally, shoulders heavy, and crossed the floor. "Miss Cole," he said, voice low. "I owe you thanks. And an apology." Naomi inclined her head. "You owe both to yourself first. But I accept." Frederick sighed. "My son said you saved our family's company." "I invested in it," Naomi corrected. "Because I believed he'd use success to help others, not just himself. So far, he hasn't disappointed me." He hesitated. "You believed in him when I didn't." "That's what second chances are for," she said simply. "The people too proud to ask for them, and the people brave enough to offer them." When he stepped away, Naomi walked toward the terrace, needing air. Fairy lights glowed along the garden path. Isaiah appeared again, carrying a tray of desserts. You really shook them, he said with a grin. They shook themselves, she replied. I just held up the mirror. He laughed. I've never seen rich folks apologize like that. You think it'll last? Maybe, Naomi said, gazing at the moonlit lawn. Change doesn't start with speeches. It starts with moments like this, tiny cracks in pride where light gets in. Back inside, the crowd erupted as Michael twirled Elena across the dance floor. For once, every face, staff and guest alike, clapped together, no hierarchy left between them. Naomi turned to leave, her job done. Isaiah called after her. Miss Naomi, if you ever host a wedding, I'm working it. She smiled. Only if you promise to take a seat when it's your turn to be celebrated. As she walked toward the exit, the music followed her like a blessing, soft, redemptive, whole. Because tonight, respect didn't come from money or titles. It came from the moment everyone realized who had been watching from the back row, and how she never needed the front to own the room. The night was almost over. The chandeliers dimmed to a gentle glow as the last song drifted through the reception hall. The music had softened, but the mood had changed entirely. The arrogance that had ruled this place just hours earlier had melted into something quieter, respect, even awe. Naomi stood near the entrance, shawl wrapped around her shoulders, watching as laughter replaced judgment. People who once ignored the servers now thanked them by name. Guests who'd whispered insults now exchanged awkward smiles of apology. The room, for the first time that evening, felt human. Michael found her by the doors. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled up. Leaving already? He asked, breathless from dancing. I've seen enough, Naomi said, smiling softly. You don't need me here anymore. He shook his head. I'll always need you. I meant what I said in there. You changed everything for me. Naomi tilted her head. I didn't change you. You made the choice. I just gave you the chance. He hesitated. Then maybe that's what change really is, someone believing in you before you believe in yourself. She smiled. That's the kind worth keeping. Before she could step away, Evelyn Whitman appeared, clutching a glass of champagne she hadn't touched. Her face was softer now, stripped of its earlier polish. Ms. Cole, she said quietly, may I have a moment? Naomi nodded. I need to say thank you, Evelyn said, her voice trembling. Not just for saving my son or our home, for holding a mirror to all of us. You made me realize how small kindness has become in our world. Naomi met her eyes. Kindness doesn't shrink, she said. People just forget how to use it. Evelyn smiled sadly. Then maybe tonight helped us remember. Frederick joined them, his pride subdued, his voice humble. I thought success was about who stood at the top of the staircase, he admitted. Turns out it's about who you're willing to climb back down for. Naomi gave a faint laugh. You're learning fast. He extended a hand. If there's ever anything we can do for you. Naomi stopped him with a gentle wave. There is something, she said. Make sure the people who serve you are treated better than the people who flatter you. That'll be enough. Frederick nodded, the weight of her words settling deep. We'll do better, he promised. She believed him. For once, she truly did. Outside, the air was cool and calm, the lawn glistening under fairy lights. Naomi walked slowly toward her car, heels crunching against the gravel. The noise of the party faded behind her until only the crickets and the distant hum of the city filled the night. Ms. Naomi, a voice called. Isaiah jogged toward her, still wearing his serving vest, his apron folded over one arm. His grin was wide. You forgot this. He held out the little clutch she'd left on her chair. Thank you, she said, taking it from him. You know, he added, I've worked a lot of weddings, but I've never seen a night flip like that. You didn't yell, didn't threaten anyone, and somehow you changed everything. Naomi looked at him thoughtfully. People don't always need to be shouted down, she said. Sometimes, they just need to be shown who they really are. Isaiah nodded slowly. You showed them. She smiled. They were ready to see. He hesitated, then asked, so, who are you really? Some kind of CEO? Judge? Angel investor? Naomi laughed softly. I'm a woman who knows what it's like to be dismissed, she said, and one who refuses to let the next person feel that way. Isaiah grinned. Then the world needs more of you. No, she said gently. It just needs more people willing to listen. He nodded, and she could tell he'd carry the moment forward. The kindness, the lesson, the spark of self-worth. That was enough. As she got into her car, she glanced once more at the glittering hall. Through the window, she could see Michael spinning his new bride under the lights, laughter bursting from both of them. Evelyn hugged the catering staff, and Frederick was writing something. His first check for the new employee scholarship fund Naomi had suggested. The staff cheered. Naomi smiled. Instant karma. Justice that didn't destroy but rebuilt. The engine hummed softly as she started the car. The city stretched out before her, waiting, full of stories like this one. Rooms full of judgment, waiting to be humbled. She drove off, headlights cutting through the night. As the estate disappeared behind her, her phone buzzed once, a text from Michael. "Thank you for everything. You gave me my life back." Naomi typed a single reply. "Use it well. Lift others. That's how you thank me." She put the phone away, eyes forward. The road ahead glimmered in the moonlight, quiet, endless, alive with possibility. Because true power isn't about being the richest person in the room. It's about being the one who can walk away with peace, knowing you've left the world just a little kinder than you found it. Final question for you. When you see someone treated like they don't belong, do you look away or do you stand beside them? Because sometimes, one act of respect is all it takes to turn a lifetime of prejudice into a moment of truth.